All right, racists.
Here's your unfriendly reminder that if black people could truly be racist, y'all would be dead. Have a good day.
Every racist in this country is lucky that a funeral is not the payment for racism. Because if that were the case, the population would be very thin. It would seem as though some of you are under the impression that Black Americans are weak. While that is a dangerous thought pattern, I think the lessons that racists will learn while having this delusion is beautiful. I mean, how many examples have we seen of Anglo-Americans getting their ass kicked? Obviously, we haven't seen enough, so here's some reminders. All of you silly people need a reality check, and I hope you get it soon, especially since this racist country is dying. So there should never be any question about Indigenous Black people from this country or others ever being racist. It's impossible, because when the joke makes its way back, everything seems to have such a damaging effect on the Anglo people. And the nerve of whites pretending as if they aren't the most damaging people on this planet. Weird how much they forget. Well, see you next time. Thanks for watching.
Okay, so first, all white people are racist. Yes, this is a true statement because we live in a world where racial hierarchy is at the structural foundation of our entire society. And because whiteness and how racism is structured, think of it like a system that has multiple working parts that make up the whole thing as a whole, right? So the how racism is structured is there's prejudices and discrimination, and then there's also another dynamic of power. The power part comes from who controls what, who owns what, who has what, who makes who puts out everything basically. This system that has been put in place automatically advantages white people just from having white skin. Racism is built upon skin color, so therefore it advantages who? A certain skin color. And this doesn't make you a bad person. It just means you have conditioned internalized programming that you need to bring awareness to and start to unlearn. These behavioral patterns are not just, oh, I'm not racist because I like black people, or I have a black friend, or my spouse is black. These behavioral patterns show up in, like, if you see a black person, a white person doing the exact same thing, and you suddenly feel a subtle difference, that is a conditioning from the system that has taught you these associations. So yes, being white comes with inherited advantages and learned biases. That's just what being white comes with. And it is up to the white person to bring awareness to that and unlearn that. And that's how you can become not racist.
Honestly, I can tell you for a whole fact that white people should be thanking their God that black people are not racist. Because if black people were racist, I think by now they would have been getting their acts whooped east, west, north, and south. That's the truth. Because even these points that black people are not racist, a lot of them still assume or still say that black people are racist. But black people are not racist because if they were, I don't think a lot of them would have been able to survive, just like this guy said in this video. But anyways, I have a lot of clips to roll out for you guys. Then I'll come back with commentaries. And I want to say a very big thank you to every single one of you watching, liking, commenting, sharing, dropping super thanks, and also joining my membership. I do not take you guys for granted. You guys are absolutely the best. And guys, with that being said, let's jump right into this video. I'll be back with commentaries. Let's go watch.
All right, the second point I'm going to speak on. Black people cannot be racist. So, to my people who said it's both sides, this is why they say that about us. You making us look bad. This is why. So, in a system of racism, there's also prejudices and discrimination. Black people can 100% be prejudiced and discriminate. Facts. But the reason why they can't be racist is because what holds racism up is a power structure. There's a power structure within racism Like, for example, who owns what? Who has the resources? Who controls the money? Who controls the media? Who has the education? Who controls the education? Who puts out what's going to be educated? um, all of that. That is part of the power structure that goes along with racism. Black people do not have that power. White people have the power. So it's not possible for a black person to be racist. You can be prejudiced. For example, I do not like white men. I definitely prejudge. Yeah, black people don't have power, and black people don't have power because of the ownership of everything. Do we own the water systems? Do we own the electricity systems? Do we own all of the stock market? Do we own, you get what I'm saying? White patriarchy, white men own everything. So therefore, there is no power in the hands of black people for black people to be able to be racist. Let me give you a little example of how black people cannot be racist. You got a black person and you got a white person. Say they're work friends. Black person says, you know what, girl, I don't fuck with you. I don't like you. And the white person goes, oh my God, I am so offended. Is anything going to happen to that black person? No. Everybody's just going to carry on and be like, oh, well, she don't like me, da da da, blah, blah, blah. Now, what if that white person was severely hurt and went to the supervisor and started crying her little fucking eyes out and said, oh my God, you guys hurt my feelings and call me this. Guess the fuck what's happening to that black person? Fired. Nothing can happen to a white person. It won't affect racism and the power structure of the dynamic. It doesn't affect white people how it affects black people. It doesn't affect white people from getting a loan, getting a job, being fired, being reported, being arrested. Us, we can get called upon, we can get fired, we can get, you get what I'm saying? That is the difference on how and why black people cannot be racist.
I am looking for the help of both Black and white people on a situation I was just part of. A group I was part of that was built to give people of different races opportunities to socialize together appointed a woman to be the leader, and she had all the right qualifications. And initially I was going to be on the leadership team. Things happened and I decided to step back. One of the things that happened was that in the initial planning meeting, which just included people on the leadership team, in that meeting, this woman announced that she doesn't see color. Her parents taught her not to see color. This troubled me because as a white person who works in anti-racism, that is not a comment that people of color like to hear. So I had a relationship with this person's director, and I approached that person and said that it concerned me. So not long afterwards, we had a launch meeting of the overall organization. And she said it again. And I ultimately decided to stand up and leave. Not only had my concerns not been addressed, nothing was done to reassure me that the people of color in the room would be taken care of. So I sat with that experience for a couple of days. And ultimately, I wrote a letter to both the founder of the group and the person who said that she doesn't see color twice. And I explained to her that perhaps she doesn't understand that this is a problem, that I know she is mixed race. And instead of admitting that this is an issue in Black culture, she doubled down, defended herself, and did some Darvo stuff. And it really troubled me. But as a Black friend pointed out that same evening, I am a white woman. So maybe I'm not the one to say anything. But what I'd like from you is your take on this. And I want to make sure I'm doing the hard work in a useful way. So I want to hear from you, both Black and white people. Let me know your perspective on this. I would really, really appreciate it. I am curious.
Do you think black people can be racist?
I have no comment.
Do you think that black people can be racist?
Of course.
Trying to see something. I'm trying to see something. Wait.
Why you say that?
Because they're human beings, and if I can be righteous, you can be righteous.
Do you know what racism has to do with like power? Like I don't have, since we're the minority, I don't have the power to say that, oh, your community can't live here, or I can't be like, I can't, let me tear down the schools in this community, or take out those grocery stores, or you know what I mean?
I think power has a lot to do with it.
Like I could be prejudiced, but racism has to do with like specifically saying these people cannot be here. And I don't think black people or minorities have the power or foundation to do that.
Well, they probably don't have the power to do it alone. They need the help of all of us, I think, to get.
But white people do have the power to say, oh no, we can take out the grocery stores. We don't want to put no healthy, like there's no Whole Foods in, the hood. You know that, right?
Yeah, I do know that.
Okay.
And I think that's what I'm saying. I think white people have to stand up and say, no, they do have to have grocery stores. And
so, again, do you think that black people can be racist right now?
do I think black people can be racist? Yes, I do.
Why?
Because they're human beings just like the rest of us. And when they get treated bad by some people, they don't like them.
But racism is not about like or hate. It's about the saying that the livelihood or the livinghood of somebody, we're going to make less of it. Like I can't be like, I can make your life bad. There's no way I can do that for you.
You personally could.
No.
Oh yeah, you could. You could punch me in the mouth. That would make my life very bad.
That's prejudice though. But I can't say like I can make a whole white community of white people life bad. You know what I mean? I can make yours, but I can't make a whole
Is
group.
that your ambition?
No, it's not. I know. I just think that I can't be racist because I can't be like you and every.
Yeah, I think you can be racist.
Wait, I'm trying to see something. I'm trying to see something. Wait, I'm trying to see something. I'm trying to see something. Wait, I'm trying to see something. I'm trying to see something. Wait,
First person in the UK to challenge these schemes in court because it's blatant racism.
Okay, so for those who don't know, go watch that video. Essentially what she's saying is that they've been giving black people the opportunity, or 10,000 black interns the opportunity to apply for a specific job. She believes that's racism. Anyways, you've caught up. Let me explain something to you guys. I feel like people do not understand the concept of racism, and that is something that is truly pitiful. You would think that people who live in this country, or just forget even live in this country, you think that people who have access to the internet would be able to just understand historical details. There is nothing racist about it. If she wanted to say discrimination, cool, you can say it's discrimination, but in fact it'd be positive discrimination because you are finally highlighting a minority group of people to be able to have the same opportunities that people like her have had for decades, for centuries, forever. You always have these opportunities. I just never understand why people come on the net and they're angry when they're not included in one single thing. You are literally included in everything. To be a white woman, you get everything you want. I think people forget how the chain works. It goes white man, then white woman. It doesn't go white man, then black person. We are at the bottom of the fucking hierarchy. Black man, black woman. What are you fighting for? You're fighting to be at the bottom? Like, because what are you actually fighting for? And I'm not saying that to be disrespectful, but really think about how the hierarchy works. That's how it works. Even if you're of a different sexuality, if you're a white person, you are on top of the hierarchy. I need people to understand that. So when you come on the internet and you're crying about wanting to be involved in something that you are already involved in, because as I've said before, the opportunities are there for you. They are always there for you. The reason why they do schemes like this is because often black people do apply for lots of stuff and they don't get the opportunity at all because we're versing you. And you are often seen to be the better participant or the better candidate, should I say, because you are of that complexion. And that's why it really irritates me when people come online, they say things like, it's racism. It is not racism. And just to let people know, Black people can't really be racist. Like, there has to be systemic oppression. We cannot systemically oppress you. Like, I just feel like people are not understanding how words work. And this is what I be saying every other day. Like, people don't know what words mean. And it's jarring to me because you could look this stuff up. Obviously now when you go on Google and you like search up what racism is, it's a different definition to what it was before. Because I used to be like, search Google and people would see it. But now it's different. Because now it lets people like her think that there is like, it makes her feel like I'm able to be racist towards her. I cannot be racist towards you. I can only be discriminative. Anyways, back to what I was saying. To be a Black person in the UK, or just to be a Black person in most places, apart from like, you know, places where we are predominantly in, we are a minority of people. So why are you fighting for a spot to be a minority when you are the majority? Everybody looks like you. Everybody sounds like you. Okay? Like, you are literally you're the majority, sir. I'm even starting because it's irritating me that much that you don't have a clue. I don't know if you lack education. I don't know if you lack emotional intelligence. I don't know what it is that you lack, but I hope that you find it and find it fast, because you're coming on the internet and you're spewing nonsense. You could apply to anything else. There are so many schemes. There are so many fundraisers. There's so much for you out there. The one thing that is branching for Black people, you're feeling some type of way. And the reason why they do schemes like this is because they want their companies to look good. They do schemes like this because they want the quota to look like, oh, there is diverse amount of people. Do you know how many times that people like me get hired just because they want to make their company look as though they're not racist? So most times we're not even we're not even hired based on our qualifications. I don't know how many times I've spoken to people who look just like me, who have so many qualifications. They're doing amazingly, and they don't get hired for jobs that they should be in. Do you know why? Because they're Black. And, you know, if we bring it up, we get told that we're argumentative, we're this, we're that. And you're going to sit on the internet and talk about some racism. Huh? Read a dictionary. Fast. Pick up a dictionary, go and read. This is the reason why they're not asking you to join. And I'd like to see you take it to court, though. I'm really interested to see how far you're willing to take the stupidity. I really am really interested to see. And I'm not even being argumentative. I'm just being truthful. Because, as I said, most Black people that I know are overqualified. In the jobs that I'd be doing in my whole life, I'll have 3 degrees while one person hasn't even gone to university yet. Do you know how many times that happens to people who look like me? And you're talking about racism? Sit down. Shut up. Okay, so one of my last videos, I spoke about the fact that Black people can't be racist to white people. And it seems that I've caused some massive offense, I guess, because I got some really strange comments. And I don't understand. I know the different forms of racism, because someone tried to school me and I thought, you're not schooling me. I'm not even going to read the comment. Like, I just don't understand what people think racism is. Like, what part of systemic oppression does nobody understand? Like, I was reading there's individual racism, there's internalized racism, there's systemic racism, there's institutionalized racism. There is not a single white person who experiences institutionalized racism. You're not going to not get a job because you're white. Be real. You may not get a job because you're a woman. You may not get a job because you're gay. You may not get a job because you have a disability, but you're not going to not get a job because you're white. Like, are we being for real right now? Like, and if you don't get a job because you're white, it could be because they're looking for diverse people. They want their diversity quota to be reached. That I can understand, but that's not racism. That is just a company trying to fulfill a quota for diversity. That's all it is. Like, because I'm failing to understand. Now, systemic racism. You cannot think that a white person can experience systemic racism. All I've got to say is slavery, and I'm going to leave it there. I'm not going to explain any further. I want you to put those dots together, because I can't do everything for everybody. Do you know what I mean? Individual racism, because that's the one that everyone's talking about. Like, oh yeah, you're discriminating against me because I am a white person. First of all, not me. I'm not discriminating against anyone. I don't have the time. I have too much time to think about myself, okay? I don't have time to think about you and your problems, okay? No. But no offense, because someone tried to say, oh, like, if a Black person's dating a white person and their family says, no, you can't date them because they're white, isn't that racism? Don't you see why that's happening? They don't want their child to go through the racism they've experienced. I don't understand how you could even sit there and say, isn't that racism? For me, it's clear as day. That parent does not want their kid to face what they face, because for a lot of people who've experienced slavery, and for a lot of people whose parents have experienced slavery, the way that they think about things is, you know what, those people are the devil. And they have every right to think that way because they experienced something that was horrific. People were raped, beat, etc. So of course that makes a lot of sense. Now, internalized racism, I don't understand how you could even mention that when it comes to white people. Why would a white person hate themselves because they're white? Okay, cool, they could hate themselves because they're white, because as a society, we've educated them to understand that their ancestors did some really bad things. And not even just their ancestors. I hate that perspective because there are still people who are racist to this day. There are people who make me uncomfortable because I am black to this day. I've been assaulted because I was black, hit in my face multiple times when I was a teenager because I was black in this day and age. So I do understand that sometimes there are white people who carry that guilt, but I still don't think that has anything to do with like racism towards them. They're just upset that we have acknowledged that some of them suck. Do you know what I mean? So I need you guys to really explain to me why you think that they're having such a bad time with being white. I need you to like explain that to me. Other than the fact that, of course, there are people who discriminate. Of course, you can experience prejudice and discrimination. Duh. I just explained to you loads of factors. I have loads of white people in my life who I think are cool. Majority of the people in my life are black, I'm not gonna lie. But I have white neutrals and they're fine. But they're fine because they understand what racism is, and they're fine because they understand where they sit on the map. They understand. They're not trying to be oppressed. I don't understand why we're doing oppression Olympics. Why are you trying to be more oppressed than... How is the oppressor trying to beat the oppressed? That's all I'm gonna say.
Black people cannot be racist nor prejudiced towards white people. We can't. Racism is prejudice plus power. Dr. Umar's been saying this. Black scholars been saying this. We know what racism is. Hell, in 2020, Merriam-Webster's, the dictionary, they literally updated the definition of racism to include systemic oppression, which recognizes racism as a system of advantage based on race and the systemic oppression of a racial group to the social, economic, and political advantage of another. To be a racist or to be racist, your demographic must hold the macro institutional power to write laws, to redline neighborhoods, and to control the global economy. Currently, Black people do not hold the institutional power to systemically disenfranchise white people. We don't hold that power, so Black people can't be racist. We can be discriminatory on a individual level, but we mathematically cannot be racist. And Black people can't be prejudiced because the word literally means to prejudge a demographic without adequate evidence, facts, or historical context. Black people have adequate evidence, facts, historical context. We literally have 400 years of documented institutional violence, chattel slavery, colonization, systemic disenfranchisement. We have all of that empirical data, like verifiable data. We don't have prejudgment. We have post-judgment. It's called cultural mistrust of white people. That's what we have. We don't have prejudice. We have cultural mistrust. There's a difference. So yeah, no, Black people cannot be prejudiced towards white people at all. We cannot be racist at all. So white people really need to educate themselves because they like to say things and it really shows just how uneducated they truly are. Because if they truly understood thoroughly on a sociological level what racism is and what prejudice means, then they would know Black people could never be that towards white people. We can't.
I don't know how to say this in a very demure way. A lot of y'all could not be Black. You guys would crumble, crack as fast as me stepping on an insect outside. With the whole Brooke Schofield stuff, it showed me how racist people actually are, how evil people actually are. And with me, I'm unfazed because I know people are racist and I'm like, just another day. Anyone that is currently not facing racism, if you had to experience it for a whole week, you would crack. I've seen the most horrible, diabolical, evil Things that should make you want to question yourself, but since I was raised by Black parents, they poured so much into me to the point where none of that stuff matters to me. But to imagine a white person being Black for a day and having none of that poured into them to just be thrown into it, you would want to yourself. When I see comments from like white people and saying like you're so sensitive, you're so this, I'm like, you don't understand, so that's why I'm gonna give you a pass. If you had to experience, to see, to feel what I have, you would not make it. And that's what makes me better than you. Because honestly, I am a strong mother effer. I think God chose the right person to be Black. I'm that person. I can handle it. I look over it. But a lot of people could not. If you truly want to make it into heaven, maybe stop being racist. Maybe stop making fake profiles. Maybe stop commenting from user 856789999. God chose the right person to be Black because I don't care about any of that crap.
Anyways, welcome back, guys, and thank you so much for watching all of that video. Let me know what you think in the comment section. And if Black people were racist, this would have been what will literally happen to white people. Discrimination in jobs and hiring. We already know that for decades, a lot of Black people have been stripped of their job. In fact, a lot of them that are qualified were literally taken, the jobs were taken away from them just because they want to hire a white person. Then imagine that a Black person is a racist and a Black person is in a superior room, and then tell a white person, I'm not going to hire you, because we as Black people, we have the mind, we can say that to your face and tell you, we are not going to hire you. You know why? Because we are racist. If Black people were racist, they would have had unequal access to education. Every single time that a lot of discrimination were done to Black people, not giving them access to quality education just because they think that Black people are dirty. If reverse was the case, I don't think a lot of white folks would have been able to survive and would have been able to strive or become millionaires that Black people are today. So white people should be thanking their acts that Black people are not racist. 3, if Black people were racist, segregation in housing or community. You guys remember all of those Jim Crow law, segregation, white only town. Even recently, we started seeing something like building an Arkansas, white only town in Arkansas and the rest of that. Just imagine it that Black people were racist. By now, would have built a complete town hall for them to say, okay, this is where you're supposed to be. And if you move out of this place, you are finished. If Black people were racist, they would have had bias policy or injustice system. Remember, ever since a lot of Black people have literally been suffering injustice and the rest of that, they have literally not come out here to cry. But we see some white people even coming here to cry and say, oh, they didn't judge it very well, they didn't do that case very well. So just imagine that Black people were racist. What do you think that would have happened to them? If Black people were racist, culture erosion or suppression. In fact, for those ones that are already saying, oh, Black people did not have culture, blah, 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 we wouldn't have even tell you that white people do not have culture. We'll have just erased it once and tell you, if you do not follow this culture, forget about it. If Black people were racist, there would have been economic inequality. There would have been political exclusion or voter suppression, of which you guys know that people did it to Black people that time. So if reverse was to be the case, and Black people decide that white people are not going to vote, you think there will have been violence or intimidation, media misinterpretation. There would have been less healthcare access. There would have been social exclusion. There would have been barrier of wealth building. There will have been unequal treatment in the public service. There will have been physiological harm like fear, stress, and trauma. There will have been reduced opportunities for advancement. There will have been generational inequality. There will have been mistrust between communities. There will have been normalizing of prejudice. There will have been cycle of resentment and conflict. So the only thing that a lot of white folks would have been doing right now is thanking God that Black people are not racist and cannot be racist. So that's why sometimes when I see videos where they post and say, oh, Black people too can be racist, Black people too can be racist, I just look at them and be like, do these people even know the definition of being a racist? Do you know who a racist is? Do you know? And that's is literally one of the things that fears these white folks a lot. They're so scared. They're so scared of losing power. They're so scared that the moment black people comes on top, every single thing that they have literally done to black people are also going to do that to them. But we are not like that, right? We are not like that. We're just sweet souls that we just want everybody to succeed, despite the fact that I know that those prime color people do not want every single person to succeed. We're not like that. But anyways, let me know what you think in the comment section, and credits belong to the original creators of every single clips and stitches we have in our today's episode. I want to say a very big thank you to every single one of you liking, commenting, sharing, dropping super thanks, and also joining my membership. I do not take you guys for granted. You guys are absolutely the best. And guys, with that being said, with no further ado, I do like let's say in my videos, I'm going to be simple, and I'll see you guys in my next one. For now, bye guys. I love you guys. Mwah.